Hi, Sue Borison here from Your Teen Media. And today I'm with Adrienne Hedger, a cartoonist and a writer. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
So, before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about how did you end up being a cartoonist?
Yes, it is an unusual career. So I've always kind of cartooned for fun. It was a hobby forever, making cards for friends and family and just drawing cartoons. But mostly I was freelance writing as my job until one of my friends who worked for American Girl magazine, she was pitching this book. It was a humor book about breastfeeding. And she wanted me to do the drawings. And I was like, okay, I've never done, that would be my first kind of foray into professional art. So the book sold. We got a publisher after a lot of shopping around, and I did the art. And that was the first time that I ever saw my stuff in any sort of professional book or, anything like that. And it kind of led one thing to another to, we did another book. I got a job doing some online cartoons. And it all built up over, probably 11 years now to where I'm just doing my own cartoons for my own website. So, I mean, it's crazy and really fun.
Well, I mean, they're so entertaining for us. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And I would say, especially now when we're looking for humor that really feels right and doesn't feel either tone deaf or misses the mark, you're really
Yeah.
hitting what we're living with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's good to hear.
So I want to ask you because we're all I think craving this laughter around the situation we're in right now.
Yes.
And some is so funny, like over the top funny, but then every once in a while something feels like it misses the mark. How do you
Yeah.
personally make that decision that
Yeah.
this one isn't getting it?
It's tricky because I mean, things can be funny and you can cross the line really fast. So what I do is I keep track of all my ideas and the things I'm observing in my own life. If I hear a friend talk about it, or I hear or I see something online, then I know, like, okay, this is something out there, this is happening. And like cleaning, there's a cartoon about emptying the trash and doing the dishes, and that's kind of low hanging fruit. Like, we're all dealing with that. There's another one I did about the sounds that family members make. And that was all stuff I was experiencing. But once I heard a couple people talking about it, I thought, we're going all in with a cartoon. And then at that point, it's kind of about finding the right tone. My stuff always has kind of a light touch about it. It's not necessarily like laugh out loud, funny all the time, but it's I try to be observational and kind of relevant, where people would be like, yes, I can see that's in my life too.
I think that exactly what you do when you're trying to get validation from other people that you're hitting a point, you're doing
Yeah.
that same thing for us because
Oh, that's funny.
we feel
And it is a
alone.
loop, Yeah, and it's a loop because then people will comment on my cartoons and I'll get ideas from that. It's like things I didn't even think about. It's like, oh my gosh, I usually read all the comments with another window open. I have my computer open and I'm just typing in more and more ideas off the comments from the cartoons. So it's sort of a self, feeding loop in a way, which is helpful. So
Do you live your life looking for the next great comic?
I
Cartoon?
see everything in comics. I see it all. Everything is a comic to me. When I first met my husband, the very first time I saw him, my thought was, I know exactly how I would draw that guy, because he had like this really square face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get to a piece of paper and draw him. Like, I tend to kind of see everything as a cartoon, and they don't always end up as cartoons, but it's kind of an interesting, I don't know, it helps me like get through life, to just cast everything as like, what's funny, what's like relatable. I do see everything, almost everything is a cartoon.
It's funny because I heard an author speak one time, and she was saying that she sees everything in a book. Like, is that idea my next book?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, like I don't think that at all, but definitely cartoon. Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh.
Okay, so you have teenagers now,
I
and
do.
and you've been doing this for a while. Has anything changed now that you're writing about them as teenagers?
Yeah, I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, both girls. I would say early on, it was a lot easier because I've been doing this since they were little. And early on, it was easier to do the cartoons. I didn't have to run it by anyone. You know, when they're really little, it's just sort of like, oh, funny bath time. The older they get, the more they want, the more I feel like they need to see and approve the stuff. And they're really easy about this. They often are fine. But the one thing that they do not like is how I draw their clothing. Evidently it's not stylish. I just draw like long sleeve t-shirts and like long pants. And there's a lot of complaints about like, I would never wear that. So that's the one complaint. But other than that, I show them stuff ahead of time. Very rarely they will veto something, but mostly they're fine with it. But it has changed over time because now I've got this sort of this like advisory board, if you will, where they're approving what I do. And before it was like just a free for all. I could post whatever, you know.
That's interesting. So do they have one that you would say is their favorite?
Claire, anything where Claire is, my daughter who's 14, anything where she's either falling, like I did one recently where she wrote a sentence for homework and then fell out of the chair because she was exhausted. And there's another one where like she's holds onto my leg and wants me to drag her into the kitchen to get a snack. And those tend to be the favorite ones. For some reason, like humor around Claire our family really likes that. Like she's just sort of that kid in our family, you know?
Very funny.
So those are favorites. And whenever Claire does stuff, I'm like, that's a cartoon. And everyone, you know, our family's like, yes, absolutely. That's a cartoon.
And what's your older daughter's name?
Her name is Kate. Yeah. And she's a junior.
Does she still find what you're doing about her funny, or is she less?
Yes. I would say like more than anything, she doesn't pay that much attention. You know, it's really not on her radar. And it's just so funny. It's like, I spend my whole life like observing them and cartooning about them. And the older they get, the less and less they care. So yeah. And I've seen her, I've been sitting next to her. She'll be on Instagram and I'll see her come across one of my cartoons and I'll see her just double tap it and move on. And I'm like, you didn't even read it, you know? Like, I appreciate the like, but you didn't even read it. Oh, I see your stuff all the time. I'm like, ah.
In some ways it's so dismissive, like.
Yeah, it is. No, I know. But the thing, she's got her own life. Like in a way, it's probably fine. Like, you know, I do my thing, she does hers. Yeah, but the older they get, kind of the less they pay attention to what I'm doing.
And you even just did the eye roll as you were describing.
Kate said, if I see you drawing anyone rolling their eyes, I know it's a cartoon about me. I'm like, that is accurate.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, right, that's accurate.
Let's move a little bit into the time we're in right now, all quarantined. Yeah. So how is the work for you and having your kids home all the time? How's that going for you?
Well, I would say I'm getting more ideas than ever. It is nice to quarantine with teens because they are up to their own business. And it gives me time to work on cartoons or whatever I want to do. But I'm getting more ideas than I've ever gotten. And I'm feeling a lot of pressure to like get the cartoons done and out while it's all still relevant and happening, you know? So I'm sort of like cartooning more than ever and getting ideas down more than ever. It's just such a unique time to be home with the kids. So they're all around me. I'm seeing what they're doing, but also as a world, like we're all facing the same things, you know, the same challenges during this time. And so as a cartoonist, I'm like, I just feel this need to like get the ideas out while we're all still in it, you know?
Well, it's interesting because finding universal themes used to be harder, right? Because not everybody was living the same life. But right now, we're all doing the same thing.
Yes. And I'm hearing from people, I'll post a cartoon, you know, and I'll hear from people in different countries saying, yes, I relate. I wanted you to know I'm in, you know, Italy and I relate, and like Asia, just all over. I'll get emails like, yeah, I related. And I'm like, wow, this is, you know, I don't know that you can relate, but I just think it's amazing. It makes me feel good. So.
Yeah. And it makes us feel so validated and so not alone to be able
not alone. I know. And I feel like we're all in our homes. Me too. When I post something, I never quite know how it will land or what will happen. But if I see comments coming in like, me too, I feel so happy. You know, it just is like, okay, we're all in this together. There's something very relieving about that, even though it's so difficult.
Absolutely. Because you can get in your own head and think like, the sibling fighting is only in my house, or the complaining
Yeah.
about noises. I mean, your comment,
Yeah.
the comment
Yeah.
about the noises, like I didn't even know that people were loud chewers, and now I can't get it out of my head.
That's it. My friend told me, I knew I had to do that cartoon when my friend told me I was upstairs and I heard my husband downstairs clinking his spoon on the bowl. And she's like, I had to turn a fan on. I'm like, I'm doing that cartoon. Like, I kind of had that in my head and I was like, I got to do it. If you're
That is
upstairs and it's
awesome.
bugging you, like,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Like upstairs hearing the spoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, we're so attuned to this,
Yeah.
Oh.
So, what have you been doing together as a family to try to get through this?
Yeah, we have a nightly show we watch.
What are you
And
watching?
there's a lot. Which one?
What are you watching?
Oh, we're watching the the Great British Baking Show. Is that? Yeah, I think that's how. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is incredible. It's so wonderful. It's so nice. It's got baked goods. So we look forward to that every night. It's like, and it's funny now, and I'm sure this is in a lot of homes. Like we look forward. There's always a lot of talk of like what's for dinner and like can't wait to watch the show later. Like it's a big deal, and we all sit around, we watch the show. Every Saturday night we watch a movie. So we kind of have these things, and we never were together much before this because my kids were so active and Kate had a light driver's license. So it's interesting every night to be together, I mean, it's definitely not what we'd be doing otherwise, but yeah, so definitely the TV show is the main way we come together, I would say, because during the day we're all just doing our own things,
But I mean, if we know the end of this story and everybody's okay,
Yeah.
there's something very wonderful about this family
Yes,
spending together.
there really is. And I can say, as the parent of a driver, when she got that license, it was like we just didn't see her. And so on some level, I'm so relieved to know where she is all the time. Like there's other worries now, but I don't have the worry of she's out driving, where is she? So it's been interesting and comforting to just have my 16-year-old around,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, and I mean, you can't protect the outside virus, but in some ways you can protect the inside. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, when you talk about your kids and the way you process what's going on in your life, it seems like you have a lot of humor, that your lens is, even if it's not funny, how do I turn this funny? So
Right.
do you think you look at your kids with a little more delight than like maybe I do? Because I don't.
I do. I would say I'm easily and often amused by their antics, and also the antics of other kids that my friends they'll complain about their kids and things, and I'm like, oh, I see a gold mine of content. It's always like, so yes, I do. I kind of like when my kids do things that are weird or exasperating, because in my mind that's a cartoon. It's not like I'm not like, oh, be hard to live with. No, but like the moments where they are, part of me is like, this is a good cartoon. And if they just came down and did nothing and like ate a healthy breakfast and turned in all their homework, like what would there be to write about? You know what I mean? You got to have the exasperation and the absurdity,
That's great. It's like meeting your husband and wanting to draw him.
Yeah,
people do that.
Yeah. And my dog is barking, so I'm going to grab him. On that note, the first time I saw my dog, I thought I could draw that dog so easily. So like, he's the one.
It's a different lens than a lot of people have to the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So how good are you at guessing which cartoon is going to really hit people's funny bones?
I'm not good at all. And part of it is, the internet is such a strange place. And the way that the algorithm works and all that stuff. I do know content about young kids typically does very well. Toddler stuff does really well. But the other stuff, it's really hard to guess how it's going to go. And I've also had things do really well, let's say on Instagram, but not on Facebook, or do really well the second time I post it, but not the first time. And so in some ways that's helpful to me, because I don't sit there thinking, how do I make the best I just put out content as often as I can. And I kind of like let the universe decide. In a way, it's like, go forth and do what you will, cartoon, like, I don't know what is going to happen. If I put something out that I think is funny, I'm happy. You know what I mean? And if other people find it funny, that's sort of icing on the cake.
Since COVID started, other than
Okay.
you did tell us the noise one, can you give us your favorite one that you've put out there?
Oh gosh, my personal favorite. Oh, well, I like the one, and this one did, when it's really, really about my family, sometimes they don't, they're not as popular because it's so specific, but, and this is an example, but I do think people can see the humor of it is, Claire dropped a roll of toilet paper early on into the toilet. It was a clean toilet, but like we didn't have a lot of toilet paper, you know, and it went in and we had to get it out and dry it off. And I did a cartoon about that. And that one was funny because I felt like tensions were so high in our house at that point, that when she did that, Kate and I just cracked up. We could not believe what happened. And just making a cartoon about it, I don't know, that was like a personal family moment that I really enjoyed making a cartoon about. But I always kind of have a preference for the cartoons that are about my family and almost verbatim what's happened here. So, you know,
I
that's
mean,
just
I would be dying from that toilet paper one. We had a week of single
so
ply.
bad. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why is that?
Oh,
I
I
mean,
know.
why is that made?
Why is that made? What is the deal there?
That is so funny.
Oh,
Okay.
ridiculous.
Thank you, Adrienne Hedger, so much for your time and for your
Yay.
humor,
Yeah.
and keep it coming. We're loving them.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I love talking to you. Thanks so much.